I've got here is I've got the SimCube simulator, and I've got a non-invasive blood pressure unit that we're going to test for our medical device. Now, you would want to perform an electrical safety as we've performed in the previous videos and the previous classes, so that you can get electrical safety data off the medical device. But what I'm going to cover now is I'm going to cover how to check the unit. The SimCube itself, what we're going to use here is we're going to use this yellow button to toggle between the measurements here. I want to bring this a little closer. You can see that the measurements there are adult, neo, high, low. So what I'm specifically going to use there is I'm going to use the adult, the high, and the low. Now you may notice that the ECG is right on the side. It should use the ECG here right in this area for the heart rate, and we should be able to vary that heart rate just a shade using the knob. What we're going to do here is as you press that, it's going to toggle between those, and so we're going to use the adult, the high, the low, and we're going to also use this manometer reading. That manometer reading there is going to give you an actual pressure, right? Now, a word on the setup. When the SimCube is first taken out of the box, all you're going to see essentially is the cube with the post. This is pretty common for all of the NIBP testers that we're going to use. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to have these sets. What you want to do is you want to find a set that works for your cuff. Now, these are the Johnson & Johnson designed cuffs. They're now owned by GE. As you can tell, it says GE on the front of the medical device. And Johnson & Johnson used a two-hose look. If you got two hoses, what you'd want to do is you'd want to connect one and then just splice into the other. If you've got a one-hose look, which is very popular in space labs, well, pretty much every other manufacturer, Philips, HP, you just use that one hose and you connect into it, right? So these are test sets. If you do not have a good test set in your NIBP tester, please let me know. Please do not disassemble. Please do not disassemble these test sets. I get a lot of students that will try and rewire this. You're not supposed to rewire this, and in the field, actually, very rarely will you have to build a custom test set for each check. So I promise you there are an assortment of other attachments in the box. You don't need to replumb anything, okay? Another thing, this is the air bulb that we're going to use. It is basically just a normal squeezing bulb with a pressure release valve. A lot of students forget to close this valve. If you find you're not building air pressure, please try to close the valve first. You want to hook that up first to the test set, and then you want to take this end and hook that up to your patient simulator. You do want to start with your patient simulator in the adult setting, and that essentially will be our setup. On the other side, the cuff is going to go on this arm simulator, which is basically just a tube of something solid. In this case, we're using a really thick cardboard tube. Just put that on. It should be loose. You should be able to put a couple fingers underneath there. Please do not put a cuff on too tight. If you put a cuff on too tight, it will alter a lot of your test results. And in fact, actually, because tightness of the cuff has such a large play on testing a device like this, the error that you're going to see here, even with the tester, is about 10%, if you can believe that. So that's a pretty high error range, considering the amount of testers that we've had before. This is the device we're going to check. This is an NIBP unit, right? Now, the first thing I'm going to do here is I want to record where my alarms are at. So what I'm going to do here, and you'll have to forgive me, I'm doing this, let's just do it this way. I'm going to do this by turning this knob and selecting an item. I'm going to select alarms. and I'm going to press that. Now notice here it tells me my alarms. My alarms are for systolic. They're 180 and 30 for low, diastolic 130 and 15, MAP 140 and 50, and beat per minute 150 and 50. Now, if I look at my tester here has an adult 120 over 80, high is 190 over 120. The first number is systolic, the second number is diastolic, right? 80 over 40. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set the alarms so that those will violate the conditions of the alarms. And the way that I'm going to do that here is I'm going to go ahead and use my dial, and I'm going to alter that. I'm going to go down to 175 was my systolic. My low systolic over here is 80 under low. So I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to wait for it to clarify. I'm going to press on that, and I'm going to change that up so that my low goes below it. 85, right? My diastolic, I'm not going to keep switching back and forth. I think that'll just cause motion sickness. Was at 120, so I'm going to take my diastolic, I'm going to put it at 115, and my low was 40, so I'm going to put it at 45. My MAP, that's an average pressure, and unfortunately you're going to have to sort of, I hate to say guess, but that's really what it's going to boil down to. In my high, 190, 120, average of that is going to be somewhere around 150, so 140 for a MAP high should work. What I'm going to do for my low, let's see, I've got a 85 over 45, so the average between those is going to be somewhere around 60. I'm going to put it at 170, and in fact I'm going to drop my MAP to 135. Now my beat per minute, there we go. I've got here for my patient is going to be anywhere from 70 to it's going to be at 70. So initially what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my beat per minute to 65. So that should trigger my high beat per minute, right? First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and go to the main menu now. On the NIBP, there's going to be a start-stop button. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the start button, and you'll notice that the meter will start to inflate, and it'll give us a measurement. And what the device is doing right now is it's actually inflating and deflating the cuff to simulate a heartbeat. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us an actual result, and hopefully the only thing that should alarm is the heart rate. And then over here I've got a heart rate alarm 169. I got a 121 over 80 with a 95 MAP, which is pretty much what I expected to get. So I definitely caused my high heart rate alarm to occur. Right? Notice here it says an alarm is happening. It says high heart rate alarm. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to alarms. I'm going to raise my high heart rate back up. I'm actually going to hit my low heart rate now since I'm here. I'm going to put it at 75. Then I'm going to go to my main menu. Okay? Now what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to hit my start again. And I'm going to look at my dial. Only this time I'm going to put my simulator in high. So my simulator's at high, you can barely see there. What's going to happen is my device is going to compress here, and it's going to compress to 125, 126. I think it goes up to 130 initially. If you look at the high measurements here, The high measurement is 190 over 120. So the device is going to compress again. My simulator is still running. It should compress a third time. Ooh. Okay, in this case, it was actually able to see it. It got a 179, 117 with a 141. So it was actually pretty accurate, much more accurate than I thought it would be. We can go into the alarms, and you'll notice it violated the systolic alarm at 75. It violated the diastolic, violated the MAP, and it violated the low heart rate. So I've actually triggered several of my alarms right now while I was getting my my settings for my statics. You have to record all of this. Yes, Becky?
Is that okay to set them off all at one time?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I strongly recommend, if I may here, I strongly recommend setting this so that it will set off all the alarms, as many alarms as you can at once.
You know all of them are working because they're blinking?
Yes, because they're blinking. And if you'll remember, this was blinking before, right? Which is funny because I guess I did not get it to violate the low alarm, did I? Okay. I want to try and get it to violate that low alarm. Okay, so we're going to go to the main. I'm going to go to my tester here. I'm going to set my tester for low. I'm going to go back here, and we're going to do a low measurement. And it compressed way up because its last patient was way high, you know. Trying not to shake too much. The systolic did not go off. Or, sorry, the systolic is going off. It's the diastolic that did not go off. I hit a 140. Or, sorry, not a 140. I'm reading the wrong line. The 40 here. So I should have violated that alarm. So guess what? I have to redo it. I'm going to go back over to alarms. I'm going to go over to my diastolic here. I'm going to raise it up to 50. You do want these things to go off within about 10. So if you want to set them within 10, go right ahead. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to restart it. We'll watch it one more time. It may take you several times to get all these alarms to trigger. Part of this is going to be working with the situation that you're given. I don't know if you can see that. It says 70. I notice it just a little less light. There we go. 65. Now, I've gotten all of my alarms triggered, right? All of my low alarms triggered. So that's how you check. This is how I'd recommend that you check your static, okay? And this is also how I would recommend that you check your alarms. Do them both at the same time. And we're going to silence that. Okay, so there is, it makes me okay all of the alarms. There is more to this PM.